Do you currently own a reinsurance company or thinking about starting one? Reinsurance is one of the greatest ways to reduce risk and build long-term wealth. But who's your partner? Welcome to the Preferred Dealer Solutions family of companies.
We are excited to bring you a digital platform exclusively for Buy Here, Pay Here education. Dive into topics that matter most. Explore our courses, checklists, and scripts. Watch video training by experts in our space, plus gain exclusive access to our private Facebook group. What could you possibly be waiting for? Become a better dealer today.
Hey, Lease Here, Pay Here dealers. Did you know TaxMax can easily help your dealership boost down payments in the first quarter? Yes, it's true and very simple. TaxMax provides the Lease Here, Pay Here dealer the ability to put a File and Drive button on their website and your social media pages. While customers are looking at your inventory during tax time, they can easily click on the File and Drive button to file their taxes directly with TaxMax, all from their phone. When the same day tax refund advance is released, the refund is sent to the dealership first to be used as a large down payment. There is no risk, and the dealership doesn't have to lift a finger. You will have customers arriving at your dealership to pick up their tax refund, pick out the car they want to lease, provide you with a large down payment, and then drive off. It's that simple. Go to taxmax.com today to join the thousands of dealers who are maximizing their tax season. Ask about our 50% off discount on our VIP package. That's taxmax.com. And remember, nobody gets you more down payment money than TaxMax.
We were able to we test and retest and we still have issues, but so we're happy to have you here to talk about the whole idea of is it on that one?
Okay, there we go.
Okay. So the idea on the legal side, had a chance to chat with you about this idea of leasing versus lease to own. And so it came up this morning in our conversation, I think, with Bill Elizondo. And what I'm understanding from you is that's a very different thing. So you might just share with us kind of what the differences would be.
Well, it's kind of a subset.
Okay.
Lease to own is really a subset of leasing. And you have to be careful. The thing that I see a lot of companies do is they'll grab a lease form because their buddy's using it,
okay,
or something they're familiar with. They don't realize the lease agreement, the software. A lot of times that there's an origination software, but then there's a servicing software. It all has to be calibrated and made consistent with one another. And you could really create issues for yourself if you're not following that. On stage, I talked about something called the mischaracterization theory, which is what plaintiffs, lawyers, and regulators use to go after leasing relationships. And they say, well, basically what you're doing is you're circumventing the state sales finance law by calling it a lease, but in all other respects, it really acts like a retail installment contract. So those lease to own folks, you have to
shared in there was this idea of not characterizing the thing verbally incorrectly, and obviously the contract's got to say the right stuff, right?
The contract's got to say, but it's more than that. I tell folks that in this business, you're going to get scrutiny, whether it's your own bank, whether it's a plaintiff's lawyer or regulator, you're going to get scrutiny. So you have to take steps ahead of time to be able to tell your story and demonstrate that you're doing things the right way.
Okay.
And that is, that's training, that's policies, controls.
Right.
All of that together makes you a much safer business, and you're able to protect and defend yourself.
And when you say in this business, you really mean the larger
Auto finance.
self-financing, especially.
Yeah.
So so leasing has its own special set of
Correct.
challenges, I suppose, and some of the language you're talking about here would be among them, right?
Correct.
But yeah, I think we see, obviously our introduction to leasing is often around, and we're familiar with many of the DMS providers that would provide the legal documents that would be, typical for a dealer to use. But what are some of the common mistakes that you're seeing out there? It doesn't have to be just leasing, but what are some of the common mistakes that you're seeing around this particular thread?
Well, I think certainly advertising is a big one. I told the story up on stage about a dealer called me to look at their website, and they had just redone it. They were all proud of it. They're doing leasing, but their website says nothing about leasing. It's still using Reg Z vernacular. And they relied on a third-party service provider, and that third-party service provider really didn't understand the differences.
Right.
So I see that happen. I see a lot of mistakes happen with, the letters that are being used. Well, we've always used these letters, so we're just going to keep on using these letters. But those letters refer to maybe remedies that aren't appropriate in leasing.
Right.
So it's really, when you get into leasing, you really have to look at your entire operation and ask yourself, what needs to change? The first thing I tell my leasing clients is, let's come up with a glossary. Let's make sure all your people are trained. Let's do a little training on what a lease agreement is, and start with the basics.
Yeah. So even some of the stuff like the language that I'm familiar with in a lease is that gross capitalized cost reduction is equivalent to what we call a down payment, in a buy here, pay here environment. So, I didn't prepare you for the question, but it's the idea that they should be familiar with the vernacular. It's not that they can't say it's equivalent to a down payment, but they really need to use the proper phrasing to help the customer understand exactly what the transaction is.
That's right. Because you don't want a customer going to a lawyer or regulator later saying, I was confused, I thought I owned the car.
Right. Yeah, for sure. So, one of the things that we're enjoying about being here is, with leasing, and I've been exposed to leasing for many years, originally as a consumer, and then as a salesperson, sales manager in a franchise environment, and then more recently in the self-financing or self-leasing business. And one of the things that's been fascinating to watch is the way that people choose. Their motivation for choosing to get in leasing varies, but obviously for today, we're here mostly to talk about these dealers who do choose to do their in-house leasing. And so one of the things that we see is that the motivations vary financially, the things that don't necessarily involve you directly as an attorney, but we see dealers choose it because of sales tax benefits or might be income tax benefits. So I'm wondering what else you might see in the realm of leasing that you think is something that, if you had a chance to meet with a dealer here who's established as leasing, what would be the things that we would need to learn, from them to determine whether they've got all their bases covered?
Yeah, that's a great question. A lot of times I ask somebody, somebody new calls and wants to talk about getting into leasing. I want to know what their motivations are.
Yeah, good.
Sometimes it is sales tax. Sometimes it's competitive.
Right. Yeah.
All of those are valid. And really, I try to build the solutions around what their objectives are.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, whoever I'm talking to, I want them to have the good documentation. I want them to have the policies, the training platform. And I can't emphasize enough, when it comes to leasing, your people need to be trained on leasing specifics.
Yeah.
Because a lot of their conversations are being recorded, and they're saying the wrong things because they just don't know any different.
Sure. Well, as a coach, one of the things that I hear dealers refer to, I'll call it hidden fees. They may use different terminology, but they talk about not having to disclose certain fees, which as a coach advisor, that makes me uncomfortable. And I have to believe from a legal standpoint, when we say hidden, it's got to be in the documents, got to be, clear in the documents as to what the customer's acquiring. But that whole concept of just having, hidden anything, to me makes me uncomfortable if we're hiding from the customer the transaction, the nature of the transaction they're entering into.
Well, and if it's on the contract or if it's on the lease, maybe you call it hiding in plain sight.
Okay. Yeah.
Because it is disclosed. But there are cases I've seen where maybe the dealer adds a little fluff to an inspection or a sales tax or whatever else.
Right.
And they think the consumer is never going to be the wiser, but then it gets caught later.
Yeah. Gotcha. Michelle, I don't have anything else. Were you trying?
I think we can just wrap up.
Yeah. Okay. I thought she was trying to hop in and ask me to ask something else. So we're good. But Steve, thanks for making time to chat. I think it's helpful. We certainly have enjoyed being here. Cool spot for a summit, right?
Yeah,
great
wonderful spot. Absolutely beautiful. Great education, and always great to see the both of you again.
Oh, good. Thanks. Appreciate that.
Every single time you sell a car, your customer has to purchase insurance, and oftentimes they purchase GAP and/or a service contract. That money bypasses you and goes straight to a third-party vendor. Why not collect it instead? We've helped hundreds of dealers set up their very own reinsurance company and offer their own warranties, service contracts, GAP, and collateral protection insurance. Learn more from Dealer Re. We have the longest running track record in our space, not just for success, but for compliance. We are a faith-based company. We are a family-owned and operated business. We are the gold standard of reinsurance. Check out dealerre.com today.